Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel. I'm 𝓜𝓲𝓬𝓱𝓮𝓵. I'm a psychic medium, intuitive mentor, and a channel. So in this channel, it's a very soul-led channel, and basically I quite often close my eyes and tune in to my guides and the angels and just let them bring through whatever it is they want to share with us, and then try my best just to keep up and give you that information as I'm getting it to the best of my understanding. I do hand over to them a lot. So in my last YouTube, I felt a little bit wishy-washy. And so I just wanted to address a few things. So if you're new to this channel, just please bear with me for this beginning of this discussion. So I quite often close my eyes because my eyes become very heavy, and it's almost like going to the state between sleeping and waking, and that's the state, either like the theta state of mind where intuition can be accessed. So because of that, my beta state of mind, which is that logical, analytical side of my brain, is not functioning very well. So I feel incredibly vague when it comes to a few kind of details that I personally want to fill in. So on that, I actually said I got my left and rights mixed up. I am a ultrasonographer by trade, where the right side of my basically I was doing everything in mirror image, so I'm not great with left and rights in the first place. But with Gus, and this is not the first time I've made this mistake, whenever he comes through to me, I'm facing I can see a dirt pile and then the house with the long veranda in front of me, and nothing seems to happen to the left. He always takes me to a building which feels relatively close to the house on the right, and then I feel on the right of that is the water tank. So that's the area he takes me to, not the left. I have made that mistake before. But I could kind of put on the video, left, not right, or right, not left. So apologies for that. Also wanted to run through a couple of things that I've had before. So I'm getting lots of information about solutions that are either kind of around now when I look them up, or that are coming into play. And so some people say, is this all bad news and doom and gloom? It isn't. We've been told over and over again by the archangels to go with the flow and allow these changes and breakdowns because this is what's necessary to set us free. We're also being given solutions, and these are things that I'm not aware of. I mean, I wasn't often even aware that there was an issue because I'm not in that industry or that field. So just a couple of things that I decided I'd do a bit of due diligence, and I made a bit of time for it. So concrete. So there is replacements for concrete, and these are called green concrete, and there's several, I guess there's different solutions there. And this is to mitigate the environmental impact of that traditional concrete has, which I wasn't aware of, to reduce the carbon footprint. So traditional concrete, I've just got a couple of notes here, emits substantial carbon dioxide, and also the other solutions that are being worked on and are currently available have improved longevity, protection, structural properties, and also cost. So this is why this is being projected forward. The walls that I was seeing that were a clay with straw that I couldn't remember what they're called. It's called hempcrete. So again, that's a really good product to be replacing wooden structures, and environmentally friendly, and there's lots of other properties like really good fire retardant and insulation properties. So that was just a couple of those things. Also, I just get words that am I saying the right word? So I got Mars and Rahu. So after last week's channeling, I looked up Rahu and about Mars and Rahu, and I always believe Spirit's always correct. So Rahu is a thing. So in Vedic astrology, the alignment of Mars and Rahu is known as blah, 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 something. But this combination is considered considered highly volatile because it merges the raw fiery energy of Mars, which is aggression and war, with the amplifying obsessive nature of Rahu, which is illusion and extreme desire. And you can see where this is going, right? So Rahu acts like a magnifying glass, taking the natural assertiveness of Mars and turning it into intense anger, impulsiveness, or even violence. So it does create a never give up mindset that can be used for bold leadership, but it can often lead to a reckless drive for power and a tendency to break rules or tradition. So astrologers have noticed specific periods in early 2026 when this energy is at its peak. Mars entered Aquarius February 23 this year, forming a conjunction with Rahu that remains active until April 2nd, 2026, with the peak aggression window with the most intense period identified between March the 9th and March the 22nd, 2026. So this is a high-risk time for geopolitical escalations, particularly in the Middle East, and disruptions in global markets. Always trust spirit. Also I got Toyota and Suzuki, and I was like, God, that's so specific. So there is a combined project with more than just Toyota, Suzuki, and I think there's also Subaru and maybe some other Japanese manufacturers around, and it wasn't hydrocarbon, but it is another type of fuel. So that is coming, and that was given as a solution too. So you can Google that one. I found some information on that, and I was like, amazing. I looked to see if there was any update on Gus Lamont, and there's still no current update. And I asked when King Charles was last seen. I don't follow the news, so I'm not really aware of what's going on or if there's been any health update. And as of this morning, King Charles was last seen on the 9th of March, and nothing else I'm aware of there. Okay, so that's just that update. In terms of people saying, are you correct? Have you been accurate about things in the past? Yes, and Spirit gives me lots and lots of information about little things, like even about diet and what's happening with our food that we might not be aware of, which I've been able to look up and it's been absolutely correct, let alone the bigger things like volcanoes, earthquakes, timelines. I find that some timelines are not always correct, mudslides. Also, the boat which beached and turned over, that my location hasn't been right on par. So that was actually Akaroa, so it was in New Zealand, rather than I felt that was going to be in the North Island, 90 Mile Beach. So that was kind of location was a little bit off. I was also trying really hard to locate where the mudslide that I could see had a white rectangular building and people involved. And again, I couldn't quite pinpoint that, but it was in New Zealand. So it's hard because I really want to be able to provide as much information as possible. And so, it's interesting to see where those differences lie. Anyway, there's been a lot that, yes, has been correct. And I was getting war and warfare associated with Trump over the last few YouTubes, as well as Israel in preparation. So I could see all the troops preparing, and I can see other areas, other things escalating, like Jordan, Somalia, groups of guerrilla activity going up, maybe up by the Congo. So there's kind of just seeing warfare in different areas. So I didn't get Iran specifically, interestingly enough. The other thing that was interesting is last week when I did the YouTube, I had a conversation that I haven't had when I do my little pre-check-in, went to the angelics, and they actually asked me a few questions, all of which I can't exactly remember, but it was along the lines of, what kind of tone are you looking for? So I feel that I was choosing to not fair to keep this helpful and healing and uplifting and not in fear. And I do feel like there were many different ways that this channeling could have gone, and it was up to me to state. And I was asked about 3 questions around that. I wish I could remember the details, and I am sorry about that, but you have to understand it's like between being awake and asleep. I'm not 100% compos mentis. The other interesting thing that happened was a few nights ago or mornings ago, I woke up and I have what I know is my visions and what I know is just a dream, or what I know is information for me. And this was a vision where I was in the water in the coastal Australia, and there was lots of people in the water, and everyone was just having a good time. And I heard there was a shark warning, and I looked out into the sea, and I could actually see the sharks in the waves coming towards the shore. And so we all moved back, and the next thing we were scrabbling up onto the bank, and the sharks actually washed right up. I forgot about that dream, and so 2 mornings later, because I forgot about it, I had it again. And this time I saw them wash right up, and I knew it was shark, but when I looked at them, I was like, is that a shark? I can't remember seeing the dorsal fin, and they were large. But this time there was a bit of fear and everyone moving out of the water. And then all the sharks, when I looked along, were all lined up. They'd all come in all the way along the coastline, kind of as far as I could see. And they were just sitting there. So they were kind of harmless once they reached the shore, but there was just this fear. That is something, and I don't yet know what that is, whether it's kind of things are going to impact our shores more than we kind of think and create a bit of fear for events that are going on globally. I'm not sure. I'm hoping that's going to come up in this channeling. So, all that being said, there's so much content. I don't even remember a lot of it. Quite often I just do the channeling and then post it up and take the pieces for me, which I find of particular interest. I don't remember everything I bring through either. So yeah, there's often quite a bit. Anyway, so bear with me. I'm just going to take a moment and let's see what wants to come through with the channeling today. Interest rate hikes are imminent. So I'm getting this again, and I've had it for the last 2 weeks. Everyone batten down the hatches. This is real. This, I feel like there's a flood or a flow or an energy that just, it can't be stopped. It's like, again, same as last week, almost like putting the finger in the dike, trying to stop the hole in the dam, but this is unable to be stopped. There are, it feels oppressive. So I'm feeling like, heavy, burdened. There's a lot going on all at once with Middle East. I'm hearing fuel shortage, fuel consumption issues. I'm just hearing electric cars not being the answer, lithium batteries being harmful to the environment, and no safe disposal that is ecologically friendly or viable in the long run. This needs to be replaced, and manufacturers are working on this. So we're going back to some of kind of talking about some things that have come up before. Mars and Rahu, expect this to peter off. There has been an intensity, and this will wane. Not that it is completely going to disappear, just that the intensity of this will reduce. I'm getting a feeling there's going to be egg on the face, almost as if some leadership are going to wonder, how did that escalate and how did that get to such extent? I feel there's an embarrassment attached to behaviors once a little bit more sanity is in place. This lending itself to exactly what I was talking about, this intensity and geopolitical rivalry. Again, I see the boys like a Muslim clerk type figure, and Trump, and both fighting, push and pull, push and pull, push and pull over their toys, as if like a 2 and 3-year-old. This is, I've seen someone, can be quite funny, seeing like literally throwing, the little rattle, throwing their rattle out of their see, I can't even think of the word. It's just a common word. It's not bassinet, it's a cot, out of their cot. So the rattle, throwing the rattle out of the cot. And this baby that I'm seeing sitting in diapers, wanting instant gratification, having no sense of patience. So this is also a stubbornness and a sense of righteousness on behalf, I'm hearing, of Iran. This is just widening the circle, drawing in other countries. So on that note, again, I did do some channelings in November, and also for another couple of YouTube actually, and was saying about the escalating conflict in the Middle East near the beginning of the year. So this is exactly what we've seen. Israeli troops, I'm seeing them with their hats on again in preparation, still preparing. They're preparing for a takeover. This is the Palestine region, and trying to shore up their ground, their territory, creating an area of no man's land, pushing out to secure its borders, having been threatened, and I'm hearing in the most unholy of ways. This is something not to be repeated, the buffer zone to create security for its citizens. This is supposed to be a safe haven for the Jewish people after atrocities past. Netanyahu, so I'm getting him. It's very strange. I'm getting that he's an reasonable man. So there's a conflict there. So there's some distrust. So he has distrust of his neighbors, and this can create rash behavior to an otherwise reasonable leader. This conflict, so he too will escalate conflict. See the handshake with the US. We will support you in your regime, in your land grab, there being some benefits for the US. US having their eye, I feel like maybe some land themselves, or some investment or interest in this area in Palestine. Just strengthening this location. Iran was creating a, maybe just unstabilizing that sense of security and trying to kind of shore that up as well. But not such an easy process. This will be protracted, and although I see a tapering out, there will be escalations. Okay, just seeing about the sharks on the shores. I can see the sharks coming up onto the sand as I saw in my vision. I feel there's more than one thing, sharks referring to lenders and their positions, and just almost that creating some fear and uncertainty among the residents with these interest rate rises and cost of living. Food prices will also increase, the sharks snapping at the heels of the average Australian worker. And I'm hearing migrant as well. And migrant. I feel that a lot of migrants in Australia, there's been quite a bit of immigration where coming for a better future, but actually making ends meet has been very tough in maybe more kind of labouring or lower socio-economic roles, and this popping the dream of ownership, of foundational kind of living for the future generations to come. End of the road. So this is the end of the road for a lot of migrants. So already finding it tough to integrate, tough to stand in positions of getting power. But what I'm feeling is where they've had previous academic professions and are unable to work in those roles and have made sacrifices for a better life for their families, and this being the final straw for many. So whether your neighbour is third generation Australian or not, this look to all those who maybe don't speak English so well I feel they're having a tougher time of it than the average Australian in general. And I'm really feeling this for a couple of major centres, Sydney costs. I'm seeing taxi drivers and support. This is where community supporting each other, asking your brother how they are, hand on the shoulder. We are all the same. We are born under different stars, different locations, different mothers, different culture, but under and within one solar system. This is the universal truth. Do not let division widen. Okay, I just want to say, I did find it amusing when sometimes Spirit speaks in a very old-fashioned way, and then I get something along the lines of Spotify. I'm like, Spotify, really? That's funny. And the reason I found that funny was just out of all those old-fashioned words, every now and then there's just something update and modern. So I just found it amusing. And some little quips as well. So some of my conversing can be quite amusing. Okay, weather events, adverse weather events will be seen maybe later this month, early next month, or upcoming. This is on a global scale. I'm getting Shetland Islands again. I feel like just cold, really cold, icy, Arctic kind of like conditions, unprecedented. I'm just seeing kind of snow and coming in sideways and just such cold, icy conditions, alpine regions, blizzards. So for those of you who maybe are walking, hiking in alpine regions, or just blizzard conditions are going to be particularly severe. I'm hearing there will be storm warnings. Heed these, because there'll be no second chances, temperatures plummeting, and exposure, hypothermia, likely if you're caught out. This is even for those who are experienced. So this is a warning. I feel we'll see more of this. And that brings me back again to, I'm seeing the personal locator beacons for those that are traveling alone or within a group, registering it, and then using these in times of need. This can be a lifesaver. Don't underestimate the use of these devices. Okay. I'm seeing, it looks like the US dollar bill, US dollar. It could be a few fluctuations. I think last time I got stable, but what am I seeing about this? It remains strong. Just seeing Trump's face. I feel like his behaviour is going to be a bit more measured and reasonable is what we're going to see moving forward. Something about the Reserve Bank. I just feel like we're back to mortgage rates again, making decisions, having no choice. Something, again, gentlemen in the Reserve Bank, they look older, white-haired, kind of feel like they're getting older by the minute, not wanting to, I'm hearing drop the bomb. So I don't want to cause fear, but just I know that this is going to create strain. They know this is going to create strain on the economy. Just see what else. My attention's going over to New Zealand, Canterbury. Very like an early cold snap there as well. Frost. This is going to maybe start early. So I feel like bear this in mind for those of you who are relying on a later frost for, I don't know, some kind of farming requirement. Just beware that this could be disruptive for, I don't know what happens at that time of year, but maybe with the animals or plants and just unexpected distressing. I'm hearing distressing. So that's just a warning about that. Maybe it's about feeding out and having enough resources that may have to start earlier than anticipated. I'm just seeing kind of feeding out. This year it's been a hard year for feed, for hay, for whatever it is, grass being cut for feeding it. Other times, I don't know, kind of rain, and so maybe there's not as much around. So factoring in that this might start early this year due to frost conditions. So maybe that's useful for someone who's listening. Spirit knows who's on the channel, and so it may be useful. Just seeing the Alps and the sun shining. I feel like Mount Cook region, but I really don't like saying a region, but it is New Zealand Alpine region. Avalanches, so tragedy. There's going to be perhaps a tragedy associated with avalanche. I feel South Island, but I can tell you what I feel, but we're in New Zealand. Whether that's the location, I'm not sure. I'm seeing maybe hikers with poles snowshoes, perhaps. Maybe just telling me it's not skiers, but hikers. Could be due to just kind of like a little bit of rumbling, maybe, if I'm not sure of the reason, but I feel like I just got a little bit of a shake. So I feel maybe there's just a bit of a rumble and avalanche. So taking care in the Alps in snowy conditions. Same thing with some unstable ground. I feel we're still back in New Zealand with it doesn't feel like the mudslide, not as kind of drastic, but just kind of areas giving way and kind of raining down of rocks. There's still some instability and erosion that might affect some roads. I can just see some rocks kind of falling in roads or tracks or paths. So again, taking care, I feel like in the great outdoors, slips and yeah, I feel like I'm seeing like a track, and it also may affect or be a close call with individuals. Again, I'm feeling South Island, Kiwis, good-natured and resilient and honest and hardy in general. Look to them. So prices have been high for a while in this country. They have been through adverse financial circumstances, that which we haven't experienced within Australia. Look to the resilience and going back to necessities and growing your own and reducing the pomp and ceremony that is surrounding each individual. Doing it yourself. So I have seen this before. So just a rise in art and craft or in home knitting, this actually will become cost effective, and there will be a return to craft, to making, to cutting of costs in this manner. This is maybe where I saw black sheep becoming popular again. And when I was in New Zealand, I was asking about this. And apparently, like, no one wants black wool. And I see this raising in popularity, and it could be just this contrasting color. And this just wool was going to be demand. I'm hearing demand for wool, and I'm seeing like feral with like a brownie color and a white and a and a black. And this could be undyed, more natural, cost effective, and like I'm just seeing this beautiful jersey. So I feel like there's going to be maybe pride in these products, or I'm not sure if it's commercial. I feel now that I've said that, I'm just seeing somebody knitting. So being industrious and taking pleasure in, and I'm also seeing like the taking a step back, which may involve more preparation for food. Um, rather than packaged convenience and relying on meat so much. So taking the time. This can be pleasurable and also a family time and a time of discussion in the kitchen. I'm seeing mother and children chatting, mothers working. Don't necessarily means that it has to be mothers in a kitchen. I'm just saying what I'm seeing. There will be a little bit of a move back to more traditional roles in general, that I feel like there's an energetic push for this, for better outcomes for children, that this is something that future generations, or maybe people are going to, women are going to feel more drawn to there's been a cloak. This is exactly what I'm seeing. So I am a career woman. I've had an amazing career. I did make a lot of sacrifices with my family to do that, some of which I'm not always that thrilled about. But I'm definitely advocate, oh, getting so much green again, advocate, okay, this is healing for women. The shedding of the cloak that didn't necessarily the hiding of one's femininity, of one's desire to create and to, like, I feel like, bring up the family, to be involved, to that heart space with the children, which seems to have been compromised due to expenses again being on the treadmill. So this is something to look forward to, better times ahead. I'm hearing there will be changes around this where females can nurture, and this is not for all, but I'm hearing that is quite aligned with a feminine energy and good times for all, so better outcomes for family units. So I do feel like there is a returning to more traditional roles, maybe in the future, once there's solutions around home ownership and communal living, and grandma will be involved, and extended family. I'm also seeing returning with men too, bringing home the bacon in more ways than one as well. I see kind of hunting, gathering, just, yeah, this thing, I'm seeing, this is bizarre. I'm sorry if this seems very archaic, but I have to say what I'm seeing. The returning with, like, the deer, the stag, the sharing of venison, the storage of meat, the maybe more, again, um, communal gardens as well, community gardens. So I did see this when I was in New Zealand as well. A very good friend of mine has given part of the farm land to a very nearby community to use as a community garden. And there's just volunteers, and then they sell kind of produce that's extra just locally in the community. And it's like a donation type arrangement. And I just found this absolutely amazing. So the growth of these kind of endeavours. I just want to go back to the sharks because I'm seeing that again. So I feel like I've taken that one all the way through, and now I'm coming back to that again. And it's like maybe another meaning. There will be more sharks noted in our waters still. This is on the rise. I feel energetically there, it's not because of, like, food. I just feel there's some energetic draw where they're just going to be seen more along the shoreline, and there will be an increase again, numerous shark attacks. I'm hearing numerous. Surfers, and I'm also seeing someone who's a diver and looks like they are maybe spear fishermen. Okay, so one thing I'm hearing is one thing that will make a difference is the time of day. Middle of the day being better than morning, evening. Of course, that's probably not the best time for some of these activities. I'm seeing children jumping in around a boat as well. For Australia, maybe, I feel Harvey Bay, maybe Whitsunday area. There could be an incident or sightings there as well. I feel like it's going to be enough that people are going to be like, oh, should we maybe just use our swimming pool instead? Okay, I just want to see if there's anything else about, I don't know, Iran, fuel. There is going to be kind of I don't feel like this is going away. This is something that's going to be protracted, this war with Iran or the situation. There's more going on than meets the eye. There's some underhand activities, and seeing Trump addressing a nation, saying one thing when there's a hidden agenda. I feel he's losing maybe a ground within support, within maybe lots of areas within America, people up and leaving and saying they can no longer be part of what they're witnessing, and loss of good leadership. I feel like maybe in the military, the money not able to hold them over their disgust, although I feel there's some that have been holding in, trying to inject some sense, some stability to like some method to the madness. And I feel that there has been interjections already over certain situations, but nerves are fraying, tempers, ideologies crumbled. I do feel like we're going to have some more resignation, and these are major, I'm hearing major losses. This is accumulating to, I'm hearing Trump's demise. So demise, not necessarily meaning death, but again, and I have seen this in my predictions, the end of the year, but I see him clutching his chest, leading to a political change within America, timely, and I just feel like there's such a division. So in some sense, there's such jubilation, and I feel that within the forces themselves and the White House and advisors and people maybe of certain intellect who can understand what's happening at a global level, and then just kind of getting a little bit more of a redneck type situation, those who enjoy warfare and division and maybe don't understand fully geopolitical situations and ramifications and how they are not immune from the effects of those as well, crying for warfare. Those maybe who are angered by personal situations, by financial situations, who have a natural, it's like aversion to migration policies. I feel that division's still going to be large despite change of leadership, and I see the crack widening, internal division within America. This could, over time, and I feel this year, diminish their political power, I'm hearing, but also maybe their ability to interfere elsewhere within the world. There's internal issues and unrest and instability, and this is now being looked at, and I feel like aghast in horror, like, oh my gosh, how did we get to this situation? So there will be changes, but this may leave America vulnerable to attack, cyber warfare, political unrest, financial chaos, mayhem, I'm hearing, and stormy geopolitical, I'm hearing unstable situations, and I'm seeing a band-aid there. It needs medical attention, medevac is more than just a band-aid. A band-aid is not going to help. This will have global ripples as well. So I do feel like Trump will be out of action. I'm getting a word, but I can't quite grab it, like immured or something like that, as if unable to add any more complexity himself. And we have a political mass chaos. This is not an easy fix. I do feel, again, this is going to leave America vulnerable. I'm seeing satellites. Spying, I'm hearing, vulnerable to spying amongst its midst, trade secrets, losses on Wall Street, inevitable. And I do see protests. So, yeah, America's going to be in for its fair share of issues, along with China. I'm hearing also stock market instability, and I see protests. I've always found it hard to imagine protests in China, but I see protests. So this is also a leadership under fire, and I have seen this before as well. So this is upcoming. There's a lot of pressure on current leadership, and I'm hearing for good reason. And I'm like seeing a statue kind of toppling over. It's democratic pressure. Bahrain reeling from recent attacks. Okay, I have to look that one up. What else about that? I feel like there's just been political unease and tensions rising, perhaps from many locations across the Middle East, and all fingers pointing back at the US ultimately, despite the location of where this warfare is arising from Iran, Russia. Hearing demise again, so we're coming closer to Putin. I don't feel like we're going to see him much. I feel he's on his way to his expiration. And I think I got this around July last year, end of last year as well. I'm kind of getting July time frame, although I did get maybe Feb for Prince Charles. And although there's been some wobbly moments for him regarding Epstein revelations with financial transactions, nothing's kind of played out about that yet, nor his health. We have diminishing physical health on both accounts. Change, we're just in for a lot of change, monarchy and leadership, and I'm seeing, which I've seen before, the state procession in Russia. So I am hearing to look for better times ahead. This is like, I keep getting, this is an intensity, an intense time. It's a window. I'm hearing a window. This is not life going forward. This shake-up, again, Buckingham Palace, it's almost like it needs to be tipped upside down, windows open, breath of fresh air blowing through these stale and stagnant organisations living with yesteryear. Just see. Oh, okay. Gollywog. Okay, this is around racism, America. The plight of the coloured people. being one that also needs more careful consideration. Outcomes for coloured youth in this country not being equal, not being almost like that, no hope, nowhere to go. So again, just getting that there's so many internal issues that need addressing, but I'm seeing kind of gangs and gang warfare and fighting on the streets and youth death, crime. This is on the rise, along with some, I'm hearing like narcissistic, masochistic behaviors, and this is permeating to disillusioned youth. This will be harmful, and I feel that in some areas or populations, or will be seen impacting also females going forward, seen as a treasure, a trophy. I mean, not treasure, a trophy wife, a sex object, not with any opinion. This is also not going to lend itself well as a general trend occurring. I feel very strongly in the US, but it has impact and it's associated with billion-dollar like profiles, social media profiles, businesses where it's in their best interest to sow these seeds. And I just see it infiltrating into overseas to other countries, having a global impact, very unhealthy. Oh, I do feel like this will have an impact over time as well on kind of females and sensibilities around this, which is such a shame. This is just a trend having an impact. I'm just going back to cyber warfare, seeing the stock market, because I'm just seeing all the numbers, digital numbers changing on the boards. There could be a big scare around Wall Street and stock market and cyber crime. This might be covered up initially, but inevitably there have been losses and there are some glitches or hiccups, and this will be seen for what it is, a breach. I'm hearing there's a breach. Also, and I've seen this before too, I feel like it's England, London, looking up at the boards of the train timetable and it just not making sense anymore. Another cybercrime and clever criminals, jewel heists. I feel European, British as well, affecting the monarchy during a troubled time. Andrew, okay. I feel there'll be some kind of justice around this Prince Andrew situation. There will be court proceedings to do with the situation around Andrew. Justice required to, it's almost like can't be shoveled under the carpet, and public requiring, I'm hearing apology, but and awareness. So I feel like maybe there's two situations, one that it's very difficult to kind of call in, so I'm hearing criminal intent, but one where it's difficult to lay a conviction, but one where it's easier, and this is the one that will help make up for other crimes committed. I just feel like this has really let people down, like, oh my God, this is our leadership again. I just see people not knowing who to trust. So it goes back to using your instinct, using your intuition. Rely on this more, and you will know where to place your faith. When I hear faith, I'm seeing like the Catholic Church, and I'm feeling that this is also not a place at this time to place your faith. I'm hearing unholy, so I don't know. But I feel that staying unto your own with those beliefs that you hold dear to you and not relying on an institution is very important at this time. This is backing up information I've had before as well. And I'm hearing that will do. So I'm just going to end it there. I feel like I've been waffling. It's got to listen to this myself for the last little while, but hopefully there's something of interest in that for you. I just wanted to draw attention again to my intuitive circles just because they're coming up on a week 16th. So 1st of and 2nd of April. So those of you who do want to trust your intuition a little bit more and have some development so that you can kind of know how to get those impressions or to trust the impressions that you're getting. Please feel free to join. There's a lot of beginners. Everyone's very supportive and generally, try to make it as fun as possible. There's always a little bit of anxiety if you're new, but that soon goes with, reassurance and just that group activity. I also have my foundations course, which will explain a lot about intuition and how it shows up for you and how you can develop it, along with lots of guided meditations to really help you have that experience or touch into intuition for yourself in the first place. I do feel that it does hold you in very good stead. I used it pretty much my entire life for myself, and it really helped me. Let's say if I didn't listen to it and I had a very clear feeling or knowing, then oftentimes I'd be like, God damn it, I'm just going to listen to it. So if there's one thing that I've learned over my life, it's definitely to trust spirit and trust what I'm hearing and getting and receiving. Just through my personal experience. So other than that, I, really appreciate you listening and being here, and love your comments as well. So thank you for being here again, and I'll see you in the next episode.